Thank you, Claire. That's a really nice introduction. Can I first of all bring a message of solidarity to all those workers, whether it be the post office, on the rail, who are going to be taking action this coming week, and we will be there. If there's a picket line, then we'll be on it. I know where I live, in the village I live in, if there's a picket line, I'll plat snow. It's a very, very tiny village. Can I say, the other thing is, we listen to a lot about what's happening in public services. That I actually, and my members actually, work in the private sector. And this is a sector that you remember in 2010 when we got a coalition government that said when the public services were being slashed and burnt, that we would take up the slack. Well, I've got news for the government, because we've been slashed and burnt as well within the private sector, and it's been horrendous what we've had to put up with and what our members have had to put up with over the last 10 years. I want to start off by saying, maybe a little bit of a rant, but just to say what an absolute disgrace the Labour Party is becoming when we're attacking our own leader. We only elected him last September, and now they're attacking him. The purging members, who, I don't know whether it's a slant, appear to be Corbynistas rather than for the other side. They're actually singling people out. And of course, the biggest thing within the Labour Party, they are undermining the democracy that we as a party are supposed to stand for and that's enshrined in our history. Purging, suspending, removing the vote from people is not going to change the history of the Labour Party for the good. It will just leave a sour stain on our past. Well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, and every speaker said it, we need a vibrant, progressive, dynamic Labour Party that's in government, rather than the squabbling shambles that we seem to have at the moment in opposition. And all the time, the Tories are laughing up their sleeve. While they're destroying everything that we've created over the years, the welfare state, we're fighting with each other. And that is a disgrace in 2016. I'm not going to get into battles with Aslef, but you know, they say success has many fathers. Well, I believe, and I think it was acknowledged by Jeremy in his acceptance speech, that the first union to nominate Jeremy Corbyn was the Bakers Union, not Aslef. But of course, we're not going to the wall on that. I've got to say, these terribly disloyal MPs. See, I've changed my language now. I would have said treacherous bastards a few weeks back. I'm now back to being a nice guy. I'm going to say the right things. They can stop us voting, but what they can't do is they can't take away our right of association. They can't take away our right of freedom of speech, and you've seen that, as Matt said, in the rallies that we're going to. I addressed a meeting, probably the first one of Jeremy's in London, when 10,000 people, and everyone who's going past, even on the open top bus, was shouting, Corbyn, Corbyn. Do you know, the mood is changing within the country. People want to see a change because they're sick and tired of old-fashioned politics. You know, Owen Smith, I keep listening to his, I didn't listen to the one last week, but I keep listening to trailing all these policies that he has. And I think to myself, God, I've known Jeremy Corbyn, I don't know, 20 plus years, and Jeremy was saying these things 20 years ago. So it's no fresh ideas that Owen Smith's coming up with. What he's coming up with is opportunism. That's all it is. It's opportunism to try and gain some foothold. And I think they have a damn cheek to say that we'll look at the polls now with Jeremy in charge of the party. The fact is, Jeremy was ahead in the polls until they created the coup that's now trying to destroy our party. How can the biggest political party in Europe be held to ransom by 171 MPs? How does that happen? Surely it's down to us to determine what happens. It's a members' party, and it should be the members who lead that party. You know, think about it. If you're in a workplace, any workplace in the country, if all the workers, or even individual workers, says, I don't like my director, I don't like him, that boss, I ain't going to work for him anymore. The director wouldn't resign and say, what we'll do, we'll have an election, get a new director. You'd be fired. We'd be fired. I'll tell you what, unions would be a damn sight busier than what they are now representing those workers, believe me. And of course, now they have this thing, if you speak out, you're suspended. If you support a policy of another party, so like Green, you know, the fracking, I mean, not my union, support it, we have as a policy against fracking. If we speak out about it as individuals, we can be suspended. And of course, if you voted historically for another party or campaigned for another party, you can be suspended. That's crap. It's absolute crap. We lost an election in 2015 because we didn't get enough people to vote for us. What we've got to do is change political opinion in this country, and it's not going to happen unless we bring people who voted for other parties before or people who have never voted in their lives. Tell you what, it didn't stop the right of the party when Quentin Davis, Robert Jackson or Sean Woodward crossed over the benches from the Conservatives to Labour. It was seen as some sort of prize. No suspensions because they'd been Tories before. They're still voting now. And yet you as individuals can be deprived if you maybe, I don't know, voted for Tusk or... You know, I've seen that's going on. It's garbage. I've got to say, I do want to dwell a little bit on my suspension because I don't. There's been a lot of rubbish talk about it. I mean, John knows what went on, but he's one of a few people who really know. One thing I did do on my suspension, as soon as I was suspended, I found out in a letter that said, an email that came that said supportive application. And I thought, well, I've been a member of the Labour Party, it's just junk mail. You get lots of it from the Labour Party. I was going to bin it, and I don't know what made me open it. But I did, I opened it. I had my family down from Liverpool and the New Forest where we lived for a couple of days holiday. And I opened it while I was waiting for them. And it was amazing, it was absolutely devastating. So I put a statement out on our website straight away. And so I've been suspended by the Labour Party. But what I don't want, and I phoned John, what I don't want is special privilege because I'm a General Secretary of a trade union. It was on right from day one. On our website. I tweeted it out that I don't want any special privileges. But, of course, as a General Secretary, I got them. So, you can see what influence General Secretaries have. Let me tell you a bit about the thing, because it keeps changing. The story kept changing what I'd been suspended for. First of all, I was suspended for... Well, I didn't get told what I got suspended on the 24th. Then it came out, they released it to the press that it was for 2 tweets. And then when I got my letter, which was a number of days after, it said that I'd retweeted something, which I'm quite happy to explain. But I got told to phone Newcastle. Anyone who's been, and I'm sure you were the same, Jack, you get a letter if you're suspended, and it's got an 0345 number, and you phone Newcastle, and they'll give you the reason as to what you've done that you've been suspended for. So I thought I'll go for that one. And I phoned the Newcastle number, and I got a young man, really nice guy up there in Newcastle, and I said, I've been suspended from the party, I'm just ringing up for the reason, because I've not been sent it. He said, oh yeah, no problem at all, we can do that. What's your number? And I gave him a membership number, and as soon as I gave him, and he typed it into his computer, he went, hang on, I've got to pass you on to a supervisor in case I say the wrong thing. So once again, there's specialist treatment. So I go through this to the supervisor in this, it's the compliance unit, but I go through to the supervisor, nice woman called Jane, talking away to me. And I said, Jane, I'd like the reason why I've been suspended. And she said, I can't give you that. I said, well, it says in the letter if I ring up, are you going to give me the reason? And she says, well, I can't give you that, I haven't got it. I said, what do you mean you haven't got it? So I'm ringing here to get it. And it was released to the press, as far as I understand, if that was the reason. And she went, I know who you are. And I went, I know who you are. And I says, yeah, I'm Ronnie Draper, I'm a member of New Forest West CLP. And she went, no, I know who you really are. I went, yeah, I'm Ronnie Draper. I'm a member of New Forest West CLP. And she says, yes, but I know you're a General Secretary. I said, I didn't think you suspended me as a General Secretary. You suspended me as an individual member for something I'd done. Well, let me tell you, I was suspended on the 24th of August. The reason was sent to me, which was meant to be 4 days later. I got it on the 7th of September. Coincidentally, I was just going into London on the train when I got the email to speak at a Stop the Purge meeting, along with Pamela Fitzpatrick, who coincidentally, the two of us who spoke at that meeting, both got reinstated. Weird stuff, honestly, really weird. But I've got to say, you know, people, and I've had the tweets, I've had the trolls. If you think being high profile gives you more privileges, I'm absolutely saying it does. But I'll tell you what, it has a massive downside. I'm sure John will say the same. I've never had so many trolls in my life. It used to be little green dolls when I was a kid. Now it's people who want to insult me all over Twitter. I've had harangued by the press right through, particularly those first 2 days. It is not a nice experience, and there we go. So they swiftly arranged a hearing for me, which was last Friday, and I got there, and I met the regional director and the organiser, and they said, I had a lawyer with me, sat next to me, and we tried to pursue the legal case, and they said it's not a legal hearing, we want to just talk these things through. Said, okay. I've been suspended, bear in mind, for a retweet. And I'll tell you what the retweet said. This is what it said. Jeremy Corbyn is a hostage to the Blairite scum who will stop him pursuing progressive policies. Now, there's not that much of it you can't disagree with. And of course, it wasn't my words. I just retweeted it. It wasn't an endorsement of what this guy said. It was continuing a conversation. And you also have to take it in the context of the day when it was done. It was done on the day when David Cameron resigned. Love it. It was done on the day as we found out the result of Brexit. And more importantly, it was done on the day when Jeremy Corbyn came under so much flack from winners in his party, from people who didn't get a Remain vote in their own constituencies, and incidentally Jeremy did get one. He took the flack as to why we lost that vote. And what I was doing is tweeting as part of the conversation back to defend our leader. My leader, your leader. And that's what we were doing on that. When I get the hearing, that's the retweet. And then the director, once I answered that question, slides another piece of paper over to me. I've actually got it with me. Slides it across, and it's got the two tweets which the press were reporting on the week before. And it has the word traitor in both of them. So he says, what do you think about that? I said, well, I've not been charged anything. What are you giving it to me for? He said, I want to know your opinion on that. Did you send these tweets? I said, well, you know I did. My name's on them. And plus, you troll my Twitter feed to get them. So yes, I did. And he said, well, what do you think about the word that appears in both? There's always some word you couldn't mention. What do you think about that word that is mentioned in both of them? And coincidentally, I looked down, I didn't realise myself, even though I wrote them, the last word in both of the tweets was Tories. I said, yeah, despicable people, can't stand them. And he said, I mean the other word. Why did you write that other word? I said, well, it was on Twitter. I said, if I'd have said these totally despicable, disloyal members of Parliament, I wouldn't have got it all in 140 characters. And so, traitors seem to fit the bill better. As far as being called names, you know, we get it all the time. All the time. From members, as I say, from trolls, all over the place. I got a call when I was in Portugal last year on holiday with my partner Shirley, who's up there. And one of my ex-EC members phoned me up and he said, you're in the Sun today, have you seen it? So I said, no, I don't buy the Sun, mate. No. He said, you're in, he said, you're a trick cyclist. I said, I'm a trick cyclist, what are you on about? I said, photograph it and send it over. He sent it over and they called me a Trotskyist. Which, no idea why, but, you know, so, on a serious point of view, comrades, I'm 61. I've been a member of the Labour Party for 40 years. Jeremy Corbyn is the leader I've been waiting for all my political life. He's progressive. He speaks the language of the people that I represent. And above all, he has an honesty that goes flies in the face of normal politics. We get manifesto pledges about what people are going to do until they get elected. And I seem to remember David Cameron was going to be they were going to be the party of the workers. Well, I don't know what workers we were talking about. It must have been merchant bankers, because they've never done nought to help me. Jeremy and John, I've got to say, because it'd be remiss not to say about John, they defend workers in struggle. I've been on picket lines with them. They've come along on the £10 campaign outside McDonald's and got on the microphone and castigated these companies. Jeremy's also, and John, promoting the £10 an hour campaign that we talked about. That's the way we're going to lift people out of poverty. That's the way we stop the attacks that are going on now. And of course, they're also in support of the abolition of youth rates. That's what we want from politicians. We don't want mealy-mouthed promises that are broken the day after election. A leader who will fix one for the class that he represents. John and Jeremy are an absolute breath of fresh air. I consider them to be friends, both of our union and in the movement, who promote what they plan to enact for the people of this country. No manifesto pledges that are going to be broken. A manifesto for change which will bring benefit, real benefit, to working class people. You know, decent affordable housing, NHS, but I don't need to trail them. They can trail them for themselves, and we all know what they do. Well, comrades, what we've got to do, and our message has got to go back to branches, not just here, we have to politicise the workforces. We have to get people to understand that politics isn't just watching John McDonnell or David Cameron or anybody else on the television. Politics is about everything we do in life, from your street lights and your care homes, your hospital, your police. Everything is a political decision, and we have to take a hands-on view on what we do. Great. Comrades, I'm back in the Labour Party. I don't know for how long. But I've got to say, both myself and the union that I'm the leader of will fight tooth and nail to make sure that we get Jeremy Corbyn as our Prime Minister and John McDonnell as our Shadow Chancellor. Solidarity, and thank you.